All right, so generative AI, it's everywhere you look these days. Sounds kind of like, futuristic, but it's already changing things big time.
It's really amazing, actually, how much it's already a part of things, even if we don't realize it. GenAI,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, GenAI, we're going to be saying that a lot today. We've got a great lineup to really dig into this. We've got that non-tech beginner's guide article, which is super
But
helpful.
that one's great for, like, breaking it down simply.
Exactly. And then we've got Ignite AI's take on how it's shaking things up, especially for people who aren't, like, coding wizards. Oh, and we've got some real people chiming in from GenAI for non-tech, which is always interesting to hear, how it's actually affecting folks. So by the end of this deep dive...
You'll be able to impress your friends.
Well, yeah. That, and you'll start to see how GenAI could play out in your own world, whether you're a tech whiz or not.
Exactly, because that's the thing with GenAI. It's not just for the techies anymore.
So true. Okay, so first things first, what is generative AI? I mean, we hear the term, but what does it actually mean?
It's funny because it sounds really complicated, but basically it's AI that creates, not just analyzes like the AI we're used to hearing about, but actually makes new stuff.
So, like, imagine having a brainstorming buddy who's always on, cranking out text, music, images.
Even code.
Wild, right?
It is. And the way it learns is actually pretty fascinating. That non-tech beginner's guide had a great analogy, like a toddler learning to read.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Like their kid who memorized those books.
Exactly. So just like that, GenAI models are trained on huge amounts of data. And by processing it all, they start seeing patterns, like how a kid learns a grammar or how stories work.
And it'd take us, like, thousands of years to read what these AI models go through. It's kind of mind-blowing, the scale of it.
It really is. And all that learning leads to some pretty amazing stuff.
Okay, so it learns like a superpowered toddler, but what can it do? Hit us with it.
Well, going back to that brainstorming partner idea, it can create all kinds of content, articles, marketing materials, even poetry.
And code. I mean, people are building entire websites with GenAI, even if they've never coded before in their life.
And it's not just about text either. We're talking visuals, designs, logos, you name it.
Hold on, I'm taking notes here. This is good stuff.
And it goes even further. Composing music, creating sound effects, those crazy realistic chatbots. There's even work being done with drug discovery.
Wait, really? Drugs? Now that's impressive.
It is. There's this company in silico medicine. They've got this platform, GNTRL, that's doing some really interesting research with, like, fibrosis and cancer.
Wow. Okay, so this is way beyond just, like, writing a catchy jingle. So how does any of this apply to people like me or anyone, really, who doesn't spend all day coding or, doing medical research?
Great question. And it leads us to a really cool example. Have you heard about what Swimming Australia is doing with generative AI?
Swimmers. And AI. Okay, now I'm intrigued.
It's a really fascinating story. So they're using Amazon's generative AI, Amazon Q, to help their swimming coaches. And let's be real, coaches aren't exactly known for being tech wizards.
Oh, definitely not. So how does it work?
Basically, Amazon Q lets coaches, who again might not be data scientists or anything, analyze all this complex data about their athletes just by, like, talking normally. They don't need to write code or anything.
So they can just, like, ask questions in plain English and the AI gives them insights.
Exactly. It's like having a super smart assistant who can translate all that tech jargon into something actually understandable and useful.
That's incredible. It's like leveling the playing field.
Exactly. It's a really great example of how GenAI can give everyone access to these powerful tools, not just the tech geniuses out there.
I love that. Okay, so we've got GenAI writing poetry, composing music, now helping Olympic swimmers. It can't all be good, right? There's got to be a downside.
You're not wrong. Like any powerful tool, there's always the flip side. And with GenAI, one of the big ones is, well, jobs.
I mean, it's kind of freaky to think about. If AI can write articles and create images and even code, what happens to the people who do those jobs?
It's a question a lot of people are asking. And, Aidan Gomez, the CEO of Cohere, he said something interesting about that.
Here, they're a big AI company, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he was saying he thinks in the next 5 years, we'll be able to automate any task we don't want to do. Like, he even compared it to the steam engine taking over physical labor, but this time it's AI taking over our mental workload.
Okay, now that's a little scary, but is it really going to be that black and white?
Yeah.
Are we all going to be out of jobs in 5 years because robots took over?
Well, it's probably not going to be quite that dramatic. It's like with any new technology, GenAI has upsides and downsides. It's like discovering fire. You can cook with it, but it can also burn your house down, right? It depends how you use it.
True, true. So, aside from this whole job thing, what are some other things to keep in mind with Gen AI?
Well, one thing that comes up a lot is the potential for misuse. Since it can create such realistic stuff, there's always the risk of it being used for, well, not so great things. Like, imagine fake news, but amped up to 11 because it's so believable, or those deep fake videos that are nearly impossible to spot.
Yikes. It's like giving anyone the power to rewrite reality. That's a little terrifying.
And it's not always about malicious intent either. Like, imagine AI being used to create misleading content for political reasons, or even just as a joke without thinking about the consequences.
It's like the Wild West out there, and we're all just trying to keep up.
And then there's the impact on jobs, which we already touched on. It's a tough one because some people think it'll actually create more jobs than it eliminates, while others are a bit more cautious.
And it's not just about jobs being replaced either, right? It's about them changing. Like, we might all need to learn new skills, figure out how to work alongside these AI systems that are only getting smarter.
Absolutely. If anything, this whole AI thing just shows how important it is to keep learning new things throughout our lives. We can't just rely on what we already know because things are changing so fast.
It can be overwhelming, trying to prepare for a future that keeps changing right in front of us. But let's focus on the positive for a sec. What are some ways you're excited to see Gen AI being used?
Well, healthcare is a big one. Gen AI is already being used to develop new treatments, personalize medicine, even help diagnose diseases more accurately. Imagine a world where diagnoses are faster, more accurate, and lead to better outcomes for patients.
That'd be amazing. What about other fields?
Education's another exciting area. Gen AI could help create truly personalized learning experiences for every student, build interactive environments that adapt to their needs, and even assist teachers with things like grading and lesson planning.
It's not about replacing teachers, though, right? It's more about giving them superpowers.
Exactly, freeing them up to do what they do best, inspiring and guiding their students.
Now that's a use of AI I can get behind. So what about creativity? I know a lot of artists are excited about Gen AI, but also a little wary.
Yeah, I get that. On the one hand, it's an amazing tool. It can help them break through creative blocks, try new styles, really bring their ideas to life. But then there's that fear that it'll devalue human creativity, maybe even make artists obsolete.
It's a valid concern, right?
Yeah.
If anyone can create a masterpiece in a few clicks, what does that mean for artists who have spent years, decades even, honing their craft?
Yeah, it's a debate that's just getting started, but I personally believe that human creativity will always have a place. There's something about art made by a human that just can't be replicated by AI, at least not yet.
I hope you're right. A world without human art and music just wouldn't be the same.
Definitely. And I don't think we need to worry about that just yet. Remember, AI is just a tool. It's up to us how we use it.
Right. Okay, so we talked about some pretty big picture stuff, healthcare, education, the arts. But what about us regular folks? How can we use Gen AI in our everyday lives right now?
Well, you're probably already using it without even realizing it. Like with virtual assistants and chatbots, a lot of those are powered by Gen AI, and they're getting smarter and more human-like all the time.
It's true. Sometimes I totally forget I'm talking to a machine. It's a little spooky, actually.
I know, right? And as they get even smarter, thanks to Gen AI, we can expect them to be even more personalized and helpful. Imagine them anticipating our needs and just making things easier in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
Okay, that I can get on board with. What else?
Well, think about all that personalized content we see online, like emails or social media posts. Gen AI can help with that. Or imagine it helping you write better code or creating amazing presentations for work or school.
Wait, hold on. AI can help you write better code. Now, that's something I need to look into. I bet there are a lot of programmers out there who would be interested in that.
Oh, for sure. There are already tools that can analyze your code, find errors, even suggest improvements. It's like having a coding buddy looking over your shoulder, but without the judgment.
That's seriously cool. So we're talking about everything from emails to coding websites. That's a pretty wide range.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. As the technology gets more advanced, who knows what people will come up with. It's a really exciting time to be playing around with this stuff.
I can see why everyone's so excited. But with all this talk about the future and what ifs, I think it's important to bring things back down to earth a little bit.
You're right. We've covered a lot. So for our listeners who want to dive in, what are some practical first steps? Where should they start?
Well, the good news is, You don't have to be a tech whiz to get started with this stuff. I mean, you probably already have some GenAI tools right at your fingertips.
Exactly. Remember Bing Chat? We were talking about it earlier for searches.
Oh, yeah, the one that's like a super-powered search engine.
That's the one. And it's not just about links anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it can actually answer your questions, have a conversation with you, almost like you're talking to, a really knowledgeable friend.
Right. It's kind of wild. I tried it out the other day. I asked it to summarize this crazy dense research paper I was looking at. Honestly, I was shocked at how well it did.
See? It's like having your own research assistant on call 24/7. And speaking of research assistants, that non-tech beginner's guide, the one with all the visuals.
Oh, the mind maps?
Yes. They mentioned this tool, NeuroMermaid AI, that can actually make those mind maps for you. Super helpful if you're a visual person or if you like to brainstorm in like a less linear way.
Okay, so we've got Bing Chat for starter searching, NeuroMermaid AI for visual brainstorming. What else should we add to the GenAI toolbox?
Well, if you're interested in the writing side of things, there's a ton of tools that can help you create different kinds of content, like marketing stuff, even poems, or scripts.
Scripts, seriously. And that's impressive. Do you have any favorites?
It depends, really, on what you're trying to do. But honestly, just searching free generative AI writing tools online will give you a ton of options. It's amazing how much is out there already.
Yeah, it can be kind of overwhelming, honestly, all the choices. How do you even know where to start?
That's a good point. I'd say just pick one or two that sound interesting and play around. See what they can do, what their limitations are, how you might use them.
Find what works for you.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to, make mistakes. That's how you learn. Remember, even the most advanced AI today, someone had to start by just messing around with it, seeing what was possible. So go explore.
I love it. Embrace the tech exploration.
Yes. And remember, things are changing so fast. Something that seems impossible today could be totally normal next month. It's an exciting time to be in this space.
It really is. Imagine going back 10 years and telling someone we'd have AI that could write songs, create images, even help us code websites. They'd probably think we were nuts.
Right. Who knows what's next? But one thing's for sure, it's going to be an interesting ride.
You got that right. Well, that wraps up our GenAI deep dive, everyone. Hopefully you're feeling a bit more informed, a little less intimidated, and maybe even inspired to give it a try.
It's been a journey. And just remember, the future of AI, it's not just something that happens to us. We all play a part in shaping it.
So true. Thanks for joining us on this incredible adventure. We'll see you next time for another deep dive. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep learning.